Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. My name is Chad Smeltzer. I am your host. Today's guest is Ghassan Korban, who's with the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans. Thanks for joining me, Ghassan.
Thanks for having me, Chad.
Ghassan, I've known you probably for off and on for the last 10 years, at least in between there. We met up in Milwaukee. So one of the things we do in the podcast is learn about you and how you started, like what made you want to get into public works and, go from there.
That sounds good. So, a lot of people ask me that question, and I often go back to my high school days where I really wanted to be in social worker or the social worker field, and that was not culturally acceptable where I grew up. I was born and raised in Lebanon, and that was kind of frowned upon, not to be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer. So I stuck with engineering because I was good with numbers, and ultimately, just the circumstance of the country at the time ended up leaving and going to Marquette University in Milwaukee, and I got my civil engineering degree, and after that, my master's in construction management, and got a job with the Department of Transportation. At the time, jobs were scarce, so you took what's there, and it was a good experience. Short lived because then I ended up moving to the city of Milwaukee, Department of Public Works. That was an attractive position. It was in construction field, and that was the beginning of a 31 year career
Wow.
in the same department, just kind of climbing through the ranks and enjoying every bit of it, and it was a very rewarding career. Finishing with 8 years at the helm, being the Commissioner of Public Works, and I look back and just nothing but fond and awesome memories and experiences.
You make it sound like there was no challenges at all in there, but we're going to go back into that and talk a little bit
Oh,
more. So social worker, helping others. I assume that was your goal and your mindset, right? That's what you really wanted to do. Can you elaborate a little bit more on like helping others? What you thought there when you wanted to do social work?
yeah, I'm naturally a people person, like to interact and just understand behavior and why people do what they do, and just be helpful to others. And when you think about it and break it down, a civil service has a huge overlap with that concept. And I truly believe I ended up being an engineer slash social worker, and throughout my career, just dealing with people, whether it's your employees, um, or your customers, the public. That was a natural skill that I had that helped me throughout my entire career, really, and
Yeah.
that's why I think I've enjoyed doing what I've done and what I continue to do, and um, it's just been fun. A lot of challenges, like you alluded to, but it makes it easier when you um, take the job seriously and don't take anything personal, and you just solve one issue at a time.
Yeah. Problem solving is
So
a big thing in engineering. It's every day, right? It's what you do.
that's what we do.
Yeah. So when you started as young Gassan, getting into public works, going into Milwaukee, did you have like a position in maintenance first, or did you work your way into engineering first? Like, how did you get into the public works in Milwaukee then?
My first job was being out in the field as a project engineer. I was the way it was structured. There were very few engineers who did that. The rest were technicians and public work inspectors, we called them at the time. And I think as I was one or of two or three maybe positions that I kind of luckily landed with, and that just opened my world in terms of every single discipline that you can think of in terms of public works. I ended up touching, whether it was a water main relay, installing a pump, constructing a street and an alley, dealing with street lights, whatever it is. You're in the middle of a project, and it just the experience became so valuable and vast. I feel like I was maybe intuitively picked construction as a field
Yeah.
because I had other choices, but having that position just kind of wasn't the baseline or the stepstone rather for me understanding all disciplines within public works and just kind of grow and learn more and more, and just made me, you know, obviously more versatile relative to understanding all issues versus being a sewer design engineer or water main design, or just kind of that locks you in one lane.
Yeah.
Where in fact my experience just allowed me to touch everything in public works.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's I mean, learning from the bottom and working your way up, as my careers have always helped me understand, how I got there, right? It's, once you work your way up through these different positions, it is really helpful. And then you worked your way into, a commissioner role in Milwaukee,
Hmm.
which is completely different than what you started in, obviously, in the field as an engineer. How was that transition from getting into more the political side of what you were doing versus like in the field? I know there's a big disconnect, or not disconnect, but there's a difference there. And I wonder what that transition was like with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was one promotion at a time. You never think that you will be a commissioner when you first start, but then as you move through the department and assume different roles, and your obviously experience and value grows, your ambition also grows, and then you start thinking, oh, I want to be, so engineer in charge, I want to be director of such and such, and it becomes more realistic and more attainable. And at one point I held a position, was called a coordination manager, and it was a very unique position. There was one position across entire department of 2,400 people,
Wow.
and I worked directly for the commissioner, and I handled all sorts of special projects. It kind of was an outwardly position, kind of navigated through a lot of unique and special projects. So if you don't know where to go, you come to me, and I'll find you all the right teams to help you. If you're a developer, if you're new to the city, you have a big project, and I will help you navigate through the permitting, the design, everything that you need to know. I was like a jack of no trade or all trade, whichever. But I knew I had access to all sorts of resources within the department that help such projects to grow.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it so much, and I made a difference, making some projects happen. So I had a lot of advocates out in the community, and then your reputation grow with successful projects that you kind of play a part in. And when the commissioner uh, at the time left, the mayor asked me if I would take the job. And I mean, I was floored in a way that I was asked, and obviously accepted. And to myself, there was so much coming up that was overwhelming, when at the time thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to deal with the city hall foundation and the city hall settling some terracotta that was 2 years old, that was prematurely failing. We had a streetcar project coming up that was very controversial. We had had some major flood events in the city. I mean, it was a plethora of issues, and I told myself I would rather be the one doing this than watching somebody else do it.
Right.
So I took the, the, the job, and it became a mission. And 8 years later, I look back and like, okay, I feel very accomplished, and it was time. It was time because a lot of people were working hard and hoping for an opportunity for promotion. And sure enough, once I left, my the city engineer at the time moved up to that position, and took that the helm for
Yeah.
a while. So yeah, so it was an awesome journey, not without challenges. And my white hair speaks directly to the experiences, but I would not trade it or change a thing
Yeah.
about so.
I have a quick. So, as a social worker, or you wanted to be a social worker, I would imagine you took that right into that position because handling all those departments, so many different people, you're almost like a social worker, just trying to negotiate on different projects and things. Is that kind of what it was? What you were doing?
Absolutely. I mean, when you somebody walks into your office, it the challenge usually was not a technical issue, because those are very typically solvable. You throw a couple good engineers at it, or put money into it, and it's solved. But it's uh, the emotional
Yeah.
uh, influence that drove people, and the competition. I mean, people had issues, and I somehow was able to be a good listener and be a good leader, good motivator, assurer, whatever, and it was certainly the fun part of my job, in terms of kind of turning people around, and lift them up, and get them more encouraged about doing a job, or getting along with people, or,
Yeah.
or what have you. And same for our customers. The public was not easy to manage, and just you bring some genuine attitude to the room, and you're honest, and you don't overpromise. You deliver honest answers, and people appreciate that. And so it's all just having a bit of emotional intelligence to read the room, read the people, and just manage them, and overcome issues.
Yeah. No, when I first met you, I picked that up right away. I was like, this guy's he's listening, he wants to be involved, and he wants to learn. And that's kind of what I was attracted to. I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. He's actually intrigued, like he wants to learn from other people. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to you for that, man, and making a huge difference there. What were some of the challenges though you faced? What was one of the bigger challenges in Milwaukee that you had to deal with that you didn't really want to have to deal with?
Well, I never shied away from any issue. I think we had challenges associated with some politics, of
Mm.
course. Like, for example, the streetcar project was very controversial, like it is in just about every city. You have the progressive thinkers, you have people who are anti, uh, kind of maybe mass transit in general, or just they didn't believe it would have the impact that we thought it would. So just getting through some of those emotions and the ideology differences was not pretty, because people dug in, and there were a lot of efforts to kind of derail, no pun intended, that project. We prevailed. We got the project done. Um, uh, uh, I think back, there were some issues pertaining to our water, the source of water, which is Lake Michigan, which is part of the Great Lakes, and actually bigger Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River compact. We had a major uh, ask or situation with the neighboring city that was running out of healthy or good water
Wow.
source. Their groundwater was contaminated, and they were running out of choices.
Mm.
And they happened to be, not to get too deep into, it's like a straddling community. There was an intercontinental divide, so which made it very difficult, because the compact protected the Great Lakes water from being used by cities that kind of positioned on or located on the other side of the divide.
Mm.
So we had to go through a lot of, kind of call it international, because of the Canadian involvement. States had to weigh in, and city of Waukesha ultimately, was successful in obtaining a permit. And I had a hard time with internally with the politics of people who did not want to partner or give up the water, and I felt like I felt alone at times because I felt it was the right thing to do,
Right.
and stayed the course. And it was fairly challenging, kind of not having the support, but at, ultimately everybody came around, and a very, very good deal, win-win situation
Yeah.
was reached. And actually, this August, Waukesha celebrates the completion of the project of bringing water from the city of Milwaukee. They became a wholesale customer, and just an awesome win. But it didn't happen without
I bet.
a lot of sleep.
I bet. I was exactly what I was going to get into next is like how much time you actually worked on all these things. But so Waukesha, it was like 50 miles from, or is that 40 miles outside of Milwaukee?
Probably less than
Less
that,
than
maybe
that.
30.
30
Yeah,
miles.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a it's the county adjoining
Okay.
Milwaukee County to the west.
Got it. Got it.
So, and this was specifically the city of Waukesha within the Waukesha County.
Yeah.
So if you think of Brookfield, for
Yep.
example, Brookfield is in Waukesha County.
Okay. Got it.
So
Yeah. That's a
that
nice
people
area.
are mostly used. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Menominee Falls, Butler, all these
Yeah.
little towns are did joining.
Yeah. Well, that's
I'm sure
really
you've
good,
dealt
man.
with some of them.
And,
Yeah.
look, if they don't have water, they don't. How they gonna? I mean, you got to take care of the people.
Well, interesting. There were other uh, cities that had access to Lake Michigan water like us, and they produced water, and they could have been the alternative source. And I didn't think that was wise from the city being the largest city. We had at the time 15, maybe 16 wholesale customers, and I felt that if the sale went elsewhere, we're going to start having a diminishing um, wholesale pool,
Yeah.
because that allows other competing um, cities to grow and attract some of our own customers. And I didn't think that was a good thing for the city of Milwaukee, because we had the capacity
Yeah.
uh, beyond. Actually, we were running, I don't remember the numbers, but like we had we were running at half capacity. So
Wow.
we had plenty of room to absorb larger customers. And I think our offer was the best. And
Yeah.
again, so it was a good,
No, it
good,
strategically it makes sense.
good win.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You want to put yourself in a position where you're helping, but also generating revenue for your, not revenue. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Like you get
yeah,
benefits from that. So you can keep
yeah.
up with your system and keep everything kind of flowing, so to speak. And
Right. People underestimate the regional cooperation. I mean, it brings so much more opportunity for partnership between cities. I mean, and as you know, not to get into politics, a lot of times the big city of a state is separated from the rest politically
hmm
for whatever reason, and that typically creates a barrier for collaboration, even when collaboration makes sense for both. So once you break that barrier, people's eyes are open, and they're more accepting of another opportunity or another partnership that makes sense for
yeah.
both entities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
we ended up following up with a recycling joint venture, where both, again, the same county actually, serving about 25 municipalities. They were in the same place as we were, where our facilities were reaching the end of life,
Mm.
their service life, and we were both looking to recreate or reconstruct our facilities. So it was so much more efficient to do one and serve both communities. And then we ended up again making a deal where we uh, built a new operation and recycling facilities that was designed to serve both communities and for significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
And what a better way to serve your taxpayers, but bring them a more efficient, less costly service.
Yeah.
So again, that was a good memory to have when I think back of the things that we dabbled with at the time.
That's well. I do want to ask you the time commitment on all this stuff because I know, evenings, daytime, like you're working pretty much all the time when you're a commissioner.
You are, and at one point you learn to be more efficient and you start delegating because it gets to be daunting and overwhelming. I think back of I managed to uh, put a lot of hours, but also have a balanced life. I mean, I had 4 kids that I raised, and I look back and I don't have any regrets about, oh man, I missed. I mean, you always think like, oh, I could have done more,
Right.
but I never felt like, oh, I was, you know, one sided where I worked, and never paid attention to my kids. So, in that regard, I asked them, they're all grown ups now, and none of them honestly feel like I was, not around.
That's good.
Um, so you're home, but you're always on call, as you can imagine. And on moments' notice, you have to get in the car and head out to to deal with the situation.
Yeah.
That was always the case, but um, at one point, you figure your value is not how many hours you work, but how you lead, how you direct, how you avoid making bad decisions.
Yeah.
And um, that's a skill where you get to a point where you feel so comfortable with your choices of your leaders that you bring on, and you empower them, and they make good decision on behalf of the department, on the city, and you just you grow that team where when you leave, things continue to move on with or without you.
Right. That's
That's
true.
that's you don't learn early on, but you develop it. And I wish young folks recognize that, but it's a skill that you learn and ultimately you use to the advantage of the department or utility that you're serving.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, it's great, great insight, man. That's very helpful. We need a lot of that because we're in that time of change. We have labor shortages now. We have leadership changing quickly in some of these organizations, entities, government entities, and stuff. And it's kind of challenging times for, especially in public works, with all the inflation and stuff going. Now you've made a
Absolutely.
big change. Now you're moved down to New Orleans. How did that come about? You left Milwaukee and decided to go south. Can you?
Yeah, that's an interesting story as well. So when I was in Milwaukee, I was part of a group that hosted a delegation from New Orleans to. They were on a call it a baselining mission to learn about green infrastructure, stormwater management, and best practices. And I was part of that uh, group that hosted, and I kind of created a very good relationship with some of the people on the delegation, including the mayor, who was part of that,
Yeah.
and um, came down and visited and had a lecture at one point. Just kind of again sharing our practices in the city of Milwaukee. And one time I was just in New Orleans for a conference, and I was I got a call. Let's put it that way, and I was told that there's an opening, and then they thought I was the right person for the job, and I was not looking, had no really intention. But long story short, we started talking, and about 6 months later, I accepted the position, and it was at the time it was like a big unknown, you know. And it's a again, there's so many layers I can share, but the city itself had a terrible experience back in 2017, August 5th of 2017, where a a major rain event uh, kind of hovered over the city and caused a lot of flooding. And and the city would have flooded regardless, I believe, but the scale or the level of it would have been different had the equipment that we use to pump the city uh, were working properly. So uh, maybe at one point during this podcast we can explain what the city's storm management system looks like, so they appreciate this
Sure.
story.
Yeah.
So, so basically, the utility was looked at as a had a failure in doing its job, pumping the city and pumping the water. Um, a lot of the top management and leaders kind of moved on, and they started their search, and then that's when they kind of, like I said, reached
You're
out
like,
to me and
Ghassan, get down here and help us. That's what it sounded like.
come and take on this unknown, mysterious project.
It's
And it
very
was,
serious
I tell
project.
you, no one could have explained how involved and how overwhelming this job was going to be.
Yeah.
But if I had known, I probably wouldn't have taken it. Right. So you take the plunge, and then when you're in it, you make it work. And I tell you, it's been almost 5 years, and some days are just terrible days where you just want to quit.
Yeah.
But I truly believe this is like the job I've been training for all my career.
Yeah.
You know, where you'd have to dig deep and just get a resolve, in you to keep going. And we're moving in the right direction. I mean, we're doing a lot of good things in the city and through the utility, and it's just been awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
I would imagine bringing all your experience from in the field and then learning everything politically through Milwaukee, you were going through, and then going to New Orleans now, has given you a great, well, an advantage to be able to be in that role. Like you said, you kind of are in that
right,
position perfectly for it. Just, I
right.
would imagine finding the right people to replace those leaderships had to be, the leadership positions that were vacant after you kind of got down there, had to be hard to find the right people for that.
That was by far the toughest thing, because practically all executive level positions were vacant
Yeah.
because of a lot of drama associated with different things. And
Hmm.
so I walked in into the utility with very, very few people that I can rely on.
Yeah.
And I started looking through layers of the utility, like who's who and who does what and who's good and who's been there for a while, who's got the institutional knowledge, who's got the dedication, who's got the demeanor. I mean, and I ended up really bringing just about every position from the outside, because you could only recycle some of your skill from within so much, and then at one point you you don't have,
Right.
it's very limited.
Right.
So it took a while, and although we're probably one significant position short, the leadership team now is just unmatched, where I can seriously close my eyes and say, okay, I'm out, and feel, that the trajectory where we're heading is not in any way would be in danger.
Yeah.
So
That's fantastic.
awesome place. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Again, took a long time, a lot of convincing. People moving from out of state, like I did, to take on, big tasks,
Yeah.
and they did, and it becomes a calling.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's very hard to explain, but it's not just a job. It's like you believe that you're here for a reason, and you're making a difference, and you want people around you to feel the same,
Yeah.
right? That passion, that dedication. Sure, everybody wants a, you know a salary, and I mean, well deserved, uh, but the motivation is so much greater.
It
You
is.
know,
Yeah.
so yeah.
You're in the right spot, man. I know that you're putting that city in a position for the future, and that's we got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about the future of New Orleans. What's your plans for you know New Orleans, and is there some new things that are coming out that you're building? Like, what's the future look like?
There's so much need in this city. The infrastructure, I call it, the best way to describe the overall system is fragile. So we're responsible for drinking water, wastewater, not only collection but treatment and returning it safely to the environment, and stormwater management. And we also have a power generation component, because a lot of our equipment or pumps run on all technology that I don't want to get too deep into it,
Right.
that require our own generation. And that served us well. We have probably by far one of the most active stormwater management system in the
I
country. I
bet.
mean, we literally have to pump every bit of water that falls on the city out to keep it dry. We're obviously implementing green infrastructure to keep water, where it falls, but for the majority of the water now has to be pumped. So the power system that we have is over 100 years old,
Mm.
is extremely fragile. So we started in partnership with the city and Entergy, which is a local power company, a power complex. So we're replacing what we have with a brand new, much more obviously durable and efficient system, consisting of substations and new generators that allow us to provide power when we need it, to drive the pumps that keep the city dry. So that project is moving. It's about $300 million project.
Wow.
It was a must. It was a must, and that's happening, and it should come to completion sometime in 2025. So it's very imminent. So that is one of those projects where I have to make sure it's done right,
Yeah.
because it was such a major investment, and it's like you have no choice but to get it done.
Right.
Another big situation the city has is the water distribution system has been neglected for a long, long time. Over 50% of the 1,600 miles of just the distribution mains are 80 years or older.
Oof.
30% are 100 or older. So
Wow.
very fragile. We make twice as much water as we consume every day,
Okay.
140 million gallons a day. So half of it goes to waste. It's just a sad statistics. So we're working very hard on diligently doing 30 to 40 miles a year to kind of move that population of, very, very old to, where it belongs. So that's been a very steady project, and funding is going to continue to be an issue. Then you tack on the lead service line replacement, and
Mm.
that's a daunting task, costly, involving the private property, because the lines, you know, straddle, or the private and the public right away.
Yeah.
So two ownerships of one line that must be removed to do right by the customer. And then lastly, the one project that we're focusing on is smart meter program. Many cities have enjoyed that technology for probably 20 years or more.
Yeah.
We still read 140,000 meters every month,
Mm.
and the meters are not in your house. There's no There's no basements, so they're sit in pits outside, and those pits are, they fill up with
Oh
water
yeah.
and mud. So it's a very challenging situation, and it brings such difficulty in us obtaining accurate reads on regular basis. So we're estimating, and estimates cause a lot of angst because they're not always accurate.
Right.
Long story short, it's a must project, and we just launched it earlier this year. It's another $67 million project that will we will end up with brand new smart meters across the city in 3 years, and allowing us to have, obviously, timely, accurate reads. A lot of cool features with the technology, allowing people to monitor their consumption. If there's a leak, you'll know immediately. I mean, obviously, the common benefits of what the rest of the country has been enjoying for a long time, and
Yeah.
we're joining that group by the end in 3 years from now. So very, very exciting
Yeah.
for the city, and very popular and welcome project. So it's not going to be easy to implement, obviously, because of the just the nature of the, where the meters
I
are,
was,
and
yeah.
again, you add lead to the lead and copper rule, and what it requires us to do during that process of swapping meters. It's a challenge, but again, it's a must, and we're gonna get it done.
You are going to get it done. That's for sure. I know you're the man for the job. So that's Ghassan, you're in the right place, man. That's for sure. So I look forward to watching your achievements get done, and be successful in all those projects. And this is great, man. I truly believe that you are put in the right place. So that's great to see you there. And thank you so much for joining us. We're almost out of time. We are out of time, actually. How can people get a hold of you if they want to learn some more?
Well, the easiest way is to send me an email, gwkorban@swbno.org. I would welcome any comments, any feedback. If I can be of any help to anybody, please reach out.
Well, now your emails are going to blow up after this launches. So,
Thanks a lot, Chad.
well, you're welcome. No worries. All right, Ghassan. Well, thank you so much, man. And it's truly a pleasure to know you and to talk to you. And thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. I had fun.
Have a great day. Talk to you later.
You too. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. We hope that this show brought you some insight on relevant topics within the infrastructure world. Please join us every 2 weeks on Tuesday for the next episode. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, please set up a 15-minute interview with your host at calendly.com/Chad Smeltzer.